Zoning Board of Appeals, we are live on the air and you're being recorded.
Okay, thank you, Michael from LTV. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of September 14th, 2021. We have a full agenda this evening with a work session. So we will get started with one of many administrative applications. Eleni is going to walk us through this first one. It is Gloucester. The applicant is Gloucester Montauk or Gloucester MTK LLC at 7 Gloucester Avenue in Montauk, tax map number 300-19-7-19.3. And it is to construct a 496 square foot roof deck and 85 square foot staircase on a parcel of land within 150 feet of freshwater wetlands. The board declined the administrative review 8/3/2021, discussed with the applicant's agent. Applicant has agreed to stop maintaining clearing now that he is aware that it is not his property and is willing to plant a line of native shrubs on his property line to delineate the boundary. So good evening, Eleni. If you pick it up from there, please.
Good evening. I'm sharing my screen here and I hope you all can see it. We had brought this application to the board as a possible administrative application back in August. And the board was very concerned with the clearing over the property line, which was over here. The wetlands in question, the closest wetlands are up here on the neighboring property. The applicant has, or the agent has discussed it with their client, and they came back and they agreed to not maintain this clearing line and to plant a line of native shrubs if the board would like, in order for the board to consider it for administrative review again. So that's why it's back on the agenda, is because they have changed their mitigation. The planning department does feel that this is a reasonable candidate, especially now considering that they're going to stop maintaining that clearing over the property line.
Thank you, Eleni. Terry, I believe this is in your, this was your file, Terry? Oh, Terry, you muted, I think, or?
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, that's nice that the applicant has agreed to that, and I am in favor of the admin application.
Okay. Thank you, Terry. Board members? Any comments?
I'm good with it.
I would just say, Mr. Chair, that I'm in agreement with Member Berger. I did have an opportunity to go to the site, and it influenced me that I think this is a good candidate for administrative application. Thanks.
Thank you, Ed. Tim, you good as well, Tim?
I am. My only question on this would be whether or not we feel like we need any kind of separation to reinforce the property line and to separate what had been previously cleared. But I mean, I appreciate that there now seems to be an understanding of the property line.
Mm-hmm. I guess they're putting native shrubs, and we could always condition it perhaps on a certain height, I would get, perhaps, you know. Correct, Eleni, they planted native shrubs along the line?
Yes, they've agreed to plant a line of native shrubs.
And that's fine. Then I'm fine with it.
Okay, I'm fine. Thank you, Tim. I'm fine with this as well. I mean, you know, it's not just a very simple application, but this was the key issue. So I'm fine with this. And Terry, would you like to make a motion, please?
Yeah, in the matter of Gloucester Montauk LLC, 7 Gloucester Avenue, Montauk, tax map 300-019-7-19.3, make a motion to allow this application to be processed administratively.
Second.
I concur.
I concur.
And I concur as well. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Eleni. Moving along, we have Eric Schoen at 6 Colony Court in East Hampton, tax map number 300-90-2-8.4, to allow clearing on a property and the construction of a fence within 150 feet of freshwater wetlands. And thank you again, Eleni, for your work on this one.
No worries. So yeah, this applicant, we've actually worked extensively with this applicant. They have amended their proposal quite a bit since they originally submitted it. They are proposing to do some additional clearing here. It's about 5,000 square feet of clearing, and that is within NRSP jurisdiction. The wetlands are down here. They are proposing a scenic easement. So the scenic easement is going to come up in this pink area here. And they did submit a survey. I'm just showing you this sketch that was drawn up by the applicant because they were going to change the survey, but they wanted to wait on comments from the board first before updating the survey. So this is their proposed scenic easement up to the 100-foot line from the wetlands. And they are also proposing to leave this fence here, and that's about 100 feet from the wetland. So it's really just clearing and a fence, and there will be a scenic easement. This is an area of mature white pine forest. It's a really nice forest. The area that they are proposing to clear, however, is it looks like it had been a revegetation at one point, and I do have a photo of it that I can show you. So this here is the area, you can see the fence in the back there. So this would be the area up here where they are proposing to clear. So it's not, they won't be clearing the mature forest. And yeah, we've worked with this applicant extensively, and planning department does feel that this is a reasonable candidate at this point. And it's up to the board.
Could you point that out again, Eleni? It looked to me like you were pointing at some mature trees.
So it's just this area here. So the fence, that fence that's on the survey is these black posts here. You can hardly see them. But the area that would be cleared is this area. So these trees in the background, those are not going to be cleared. It's this area.
And that lower tree, the big one there too?
There is a tree here that is in the area of that would be proposed to be cleared. So there is one tree.
Yeah.
So why do they want to clear it?
Yeah.
They said that they want to make their living space or their outdoor space larger. I can show you the area, the aerial. They do have quite a bit of clearing. They will be coming up to the max clearing on this parcel if this is approved. And it is the wetland is down here, so it's all mature forest in here, and it's a high quality wetland.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Eleni, what they're basically saying is going from an area that's semi-native to an area of lawn. Are we talking about turning this into lawn so they have a place to recreate behind the home?
Yes, it would be lawn.
And the planning department doesn't take a particular issue with that as a proposal?
We have worked with this applicant extensively. We felt that the proposed scenic easement, 100 foot from the wetlands, would be protecting those mature trees. And since it is it's an area that was revegetated, so it was mostly not mature trees, that it's reasonable to bring to the board for administrative review.
And Eleni, I was just looking at the clearing calculation in the lower left. You said it's about 5,000 square feet of additional clearing.
Yeah, so they're at about 15,000 right now, and their proposed is 20. However, that is based on the survey, and I believe they are going to be leaving a little bit more of a buffer, so it may be a couple hundred square feet less, but roughly about 5,000, maybe 4,000, 4,500.
So just to be clear, this white area, we see the area that proposed clearing. We see the shaded area for the easement. The white area between the two, is that forested as well? Is that woodland right now?
That is woodland right now, yes.
And was there any conversation about making that entire area scenic easement?
We discussed with the applicant just coming up to that 100-foot line. They have not yet put it on the survey. That could be something that we bring back to the applicant if the board would wish.
I'd like to see more also on that scenic easement. Definitely lukewarm on the clearing.
Yeah, I agree with you all. It seems, I mean, granted, most of it is cleared already, and I like the idea of the fence, maintaining that fence. I think that's super important. But I just wonder why a little more of that area that they don't intend on use couldn't be granted for a scenic easement, even if it followed something like the 60-foot elevation on the corner, on the upper corner, the northern corner there.
So, I mean, I don't know what we're saying here, but I think we're slightly uncomfortable with this going administratively as currently proposed.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
yeah. I wonder, do we, board members, do we suggest that, or council, you can help us here. If we are all uncomfortable, do we let the applicants know that? And if they can either come for a public hearing or they can reconsider what they might want to offer as a scenic easement, et cetera.
Well, procedurally, you could deny it going administratively, and then just like the applicant before, they would have an opportunity if they, with the feedback that I'm
Yes.
sure they will get either from watching this or in talking with Eleni,
Yeah.
as to what the concerns were. And then if they were to modify it and thought that it would then would resolve those issues, as you can see, Eleni can always bring it back for another request to go administrative, or they may choose that they would rather have a public hearing and discuss all of these issues directly with the board.
I think that's good advice myself. Tim, this is in your district.
Yeah, I would be uncomfortable with approving it administratively. So I think the opposite of that would be, I would be looking to deny this administratively.
I would be in agreement with Tim on this, and that I'm uncomfortable approving an additional approximately 5,000 square feet of lawn here without a full discussion of this. I think if they want to come back with other proposals, that's fine. But right now, I'm not comfortable letting this go administratively either.
Yep. Roy?
And me too.
Carrie? Yeah.
Yep.
Roy? Roy, I think you're muted, Roy. Oh, you might be muted.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I'll be fine with that. I think it's a borderline for me, but yes, I'll agree with that.
Mm-hmm. And I agree as well. Okay. So Tim, would you like to make a motion to deny this, please?
Sure. So in the matter of, Eleni, do you mind putting that back up? So I have oh no, here I am.
I'm sorry.
In the matter of Erica Schoen and, in the matter of Erica Schoen at 6 Colony Court, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-90-2-8.4, I make a motion to deny this application going administratively.
Okay, I'll concur.
I concur as well. Thank you, Tim. Okay, next we have Joseph and Teresia Iaquinto at 114 Monroe Drive, Montauk, tax map number 300-7-2-20. And this is to demolish, 64 square feet of porch, construct a 672 square foot swimming pool and a 1,100 square foot pool patio on a parcel of land within 150 feet of freshwater wetlands. And this is, Terry, is this in your district, I believe? After Eleni walks us through it.
Sure. So this is the survey of, they're proposing a swimming pool, pool patio, 100 feet from the wetlands. I can show you the aerial. So the wetlands are down in here on this side. So they will be demolishing a bit of porch right here, and the swimming pool would be in this area.
Already cleared?
It's an already cleared area. They'd be doing a very small bit of clearing just about right here.
And could you show us the survey again? So that porch is what they're going to take off.
Yes.
And that same red line, is that part of the patio? Pretty large patio.
This is the pool patio here. Yeah. And then it's coming around on this side as well.
And that brings it right to the 100-foot line? Is that?
Yep. It's, yeah, 100 feet exactly to the corner of the patio and fence.
And are we good with clearing calculations here, Eleni?
Yes, they are within their clearing.
Pretty big drop off. Are you assuming they have all the proper drainage controls?
I believe they will be, they're not showing a pool dry well on here, so they would have to, that would be something that would be necessary. They would have to update the survey to include that.
Okay, and as far as you know, no retaining wall? Or-
No retaining wall is proposed.
And the pool fence, is that indicated there around the perimeter of the pool? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, it's just right here, just along the edge of the patio.
Right.
Okay,
So we would restrict them from getting further down into this, what looks like very wooded land. in terms
Yeah,
of-
that would be within, they would need variances if they wanted to
Right.
pull it out any further.
And the construction limiting fence is on the 100-foot line, so that's, and they're coming up to the 100-foot line, I guess, they're gonna be able to attain that, I'm sure. If there's no retaining wall, if there's a retaining wall, that would be an issue.
There's no retaining wall proposed. Don't believe that they haven't proposed it at this time. I don't think that they needed one, but
Can you make that a condition of
yeah, we can write that in as a condition.
you may be okay with it. My colleagues think on that. I mean, if there was a retaining wall, it would have to come to us anyway, right?
It would be within the 100 feet so that they would.
I just want to voice the same concerns that the vice chair did, and that is that they are pushed right up against the 100-foot mark, and that project limiting fence and any other construction-related activity would have to be carefully controlled here during construction. So as long as the building protocols are to be adhered to, and the building department, the planning department rather, is comfortable with it, I think it's marginally acceptable to me.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to let it go administratively, though, based on those concerns, based on those concerns being followed up by the planning department.
Yeah, I agree exactly, Ed, myself, with those comments.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do too. I do think it's right on the edge.
Yeah, I agree as
Another
well.
one, yeah.
Yep, it is.
Well, we're all right on the edge, so maybe we should have a hearing.
Yeah, I'm good not having a hearing, but this is right on the edge of the decision. But I certainly want to highlight what Ed said, just to get about it being managed by the planning department and the building department carefully.
Okay, so I will make a motion then for Joseph and Teresia Iaquinto, 114 Monroe Drive, Montauk, tax map 300-07-02-20, to allow this application to move forward administratively.
I'll second.
I concur.
I concur.
And I concur as well. Thanks, Terry. Okay, thank you, Eleni, for that. Let's see, I believe that's the end of the admin for us. So we'll move on to post-hearing decisions. So the first one we have to discuss is Peter and Joy Hamburger at 12 Sandpiper Lane, Amagansett, tax map number 300-175-4-6.1. I will read that. I will read the description into the record here. This lot size is 62,583 square feet total at 12 Sandpiper Lane. Map of Sea Bluff filed April 18th, 1957, map number 2701 in Amagansett, tax map number 300-175-4-6.1. The description: to demolish the existing residence pool patio, slate patio, and to construct a two-story 3,829 square foot residence, 2,017 square feet of roof overhang, 288 square feet of porches, 612 square feet of pool, with a 56 square foot spa, 1,460 square feet of decking, 5,004 square feet patio, pool fencing, and other various residential appurtenances on a parcel of land containing wetlands, dunes, and beach vegetation. The relief sought a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20, variances from 255-4-30 minimum wetland setbacks of the town code, and any other relief necessary. The following 9 variances are required. A variance of 78.3 feet is required to install the sanitary system 71.7 feet from the wetlands where a 150 setback is required. A variances of 77 feet, 75.6 feet, 75 feet, and 74.6 feet, 64.2 feet, 61.8 feet, and 38.9 feet, and 24.7 feet are required to construct the covered porch, pool patio, pool fencing, trash bin, deck, southern residence, pool decking, and pool 23 feet, 24.4 feet, 25 feet, 25.4 feet, 35.8 feet, 38.2 feet, 71.1 feet, and 75.3 feet respectively from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. This is in an A residence AE flood zone, elevation 10, secret class is type 2. And this is in my Amagansett district, so I'll start off on the discussion here. We all recall this application, I'm sure. It is incredibly, from you recall, from the site, the field report, and if any of you, I believe some of you did visit the site, that the dune land to the north, to the northeast especially, and to the northwest is extraordinary, and it's fortunately been maintained very well. So it is a super sensitive area, and a big part of the conversation, the discussion at the public hearing had to do with biting into that to install the new IA system and then for the revegetation to occur over that. I think that's one of the trickier portions of this application myself. The rest of it is pretty much a replacement in kind of what's there. They are going to demolish the existing house, keep the existing garage, and it's a whole new redesign of the existing house, as you know, similar, especially similar in footprint. And then they're going to reconstruct all the pool decks, the patios, and the proposed pool, and a proposed shed and the new pool equipment. So it's basically a redevelopment of the site, except for the garage that is to remain. And we also discussed the future, possible connections between the garage or not. And so this application, the reason I am leaning to approve this application is for the facts that the applicants work so well with the planning department, and they listened to this board and they came back with a redesign And I will reference the redesign notes, which I appreciate the applicant's agent laying out for this board to see the adjustments that were made. And this is from East End Land Planning, July 13th, 2021, regarding the changes where they had submitted revised plans by the architect, revised survey from Saska Surveying, and revised septic site plan prepared by Ed Armis. And then they had updated the construction protocol and by Force Construction. So I appreciated the rethinking and the listening to what occurred at the hearings and with the planning department. And you can, this is all on the record on page 2, but I will tick through some of the positive changes that were made just really clearly for the record from this report. The GFA for the original was 3,000, the original proposal was 3,829, and the new design dropped off almost 800 square feet of this down to 3,053 square feet. With regard to the existing building coverage, the existing is 2,632 square feet, and the original they were proposing 3,390 square feet, and then the proposed building is now at 2,980 square feet, just about a 350 square foot increase, or 0.69% on building coverage is noted here. The existing total coverage is 8,627, and the original they were going to propose 7,569 square feet of total coverage. The new proposal is down to 6,318 square feet, about a plus or minus 1,200 square foot reduction there. Let's see what else I would like to mention. The retaining wall was removed. The patio that the existing patio was 20.2 feet from the wetlands, and they are moving that to 40.6, almost more than doubling that, and going from 869 square feet in size down to 120 feet in size. The house on the parcel is 34.6 feet from the wetlands, and they're going to 46.2 feet and improving that by 11.6 feet. The septic tank is currently 80 feet, and they are upgrading it with the IA, obviously. It was proposed at 71.7 from the 80 because of that system. The new submission moves it to 82.4 feet from the wetlands. And the pool is decreased. The pool decking, pardon me, is decreased by 423 square feet. And let's see, trying to see what else I have here I'd like to mention, but otherwise there is another whole table that goes through all of, basically summarizes all of this. But with that, I would, and I'd like to mention as well, the key issue here is the proposed, let's see, the scenic, I just want to check the scenic easement. I just wanted to check the calculations now. I think it's something like 37,000, is it?
37,618.
Oh, there we go. 37. Right. I was trying to recall that. 37,618. And obviously that's a key factor for me in this application as well. So, Roy, do you want to take a shot at this?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I agree with your assessment on it. And I know that anytime we have a property like this where the dunes and the pristine, as it goes with dunes, it goes with wetlands, we as a board take special note and care to help preserve everything we have. And I think the applicant in this case was worked with the town and us to do that. So I do agree with the assessment and the final analysis on this. I'll vote to approve this.
Thank you, Roy. Terry? Terry, you may be on mute. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, once again, I'm still a little torn on this. I was a little disappointed in the changes. They did remove the spa. They did make the proposed shed on that northern side smaller. And they did make the patio that had needed an 80-foot variance. Now that it's 40.6 from the wetlands, it's still at 59.4, so it's still a pretty significant variance. So I was struggling on this. I had hoped that they would tighten up these spaces where the patio was shortened and not just have it as a walkway now, and took off the roof between the garage and the proposed porch. However, ultimately, I made the decision that I will approve this, and I have to say the bulk of that decision is because of that very large scenic easement.
Thank you, Terry. Ed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I made many of the same notes you did in your analysis. I thought that the representative's letter of July 13th did hit on a lot of important points. I won't repeat the ones you had. There were one or two others, the pool moving further from the wetlands. And there was a proposed covenant that the house could not be increased beyond 4 bedrooms without coming again in front of the board, which would happen naturally. But I think in the end, I think that the applicant did listen somewhat carefully to what got said. I think that this is a very, very sensitive and beautiful spot. I have visited it, and you're immediately impressed with the surroundings. But I do think that they've shown that they are a reasonable caretaker for the property, and I'm pretty much in line with everyone else saying that the 37,000 plus feet of easement swayed me to thinking that with the work that they did to try to come in line with the suggestions from the hearing and the reductions in almost every place that we had raised some concerns, and then the establishment of the easement, I'm looking to approve this as well.
Thank you, Ed. I just want to say thank you for mentioning the pool. I neglected to. That's an important aspect. And also they're decreasing the, you might have mentioned this, the lot coverage is being, at the end of the day, decreased after revegetation and all, is being decreased to 2,300 square feet as well. Tim?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm in agreement with really all the comments that have already been made. There were opportunities to improve some of the setbacks here, but I believe that the planning department was also on board with the idea that any further changes in the dimensions would require moving the house that might disturb the dune more than just sort of replacement in kind, as you mentioned earlier. So I think overall there was a substantial improvement. I do think sometimes we get caught up in looking at the prior application versus the new application as opposed to existing. But in this case, I think they did hit the mark, and I do think it rises to the standards. This is a nice improvement on the environmental conditions of this area, and the scenic easement does put it over the top. So I would also look to approve it.
Thank you, Tim, and I appreciate your comment about analyzing the proposed to the existing. It's certainly important. Thank you. Let's see. I think we hit on all there then. Council, are we good on that?
The council has the covenant about the 4 bedrooms, right?
Council may
Yes,
be
I
on
just,
mute.
it's a covenant, but it's a little bit different in that they're covenanting that they won't go beyond 4 without returning to ZBA. So it's not just it'll never go to 4, but that they're looking for that they would only do so with approval from this board.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that also carries in perpetuity, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah, it runs with the land, and it would be for whichever owner, but there's no way to covenant or restrict what a future board would approve.
Okay. Understood.
Yep.
Okay. Just one other comment. I guess right now there was literature that it's sitting in groundwater right now, part of this property, and I guess putting it on the pilings will alleviate that. No comment.
Okay. So, thanks, Nancy Lynn.
Yep,
So-
I'll
go ahead.
I'll have to impose on Eleni to help me determine the changes in what the actual variances are going to be, since Mike's not here to do that, but I have some of them, but we'll double check those and make sure those are accurate so that the variances reflect the changes between what was noticed. I know it's a lot less, but what was noticed and what your actual approval is.
Right.
That type. Yep.
Thanks, Nancy Lynn. Okay, we good, everyone, on this one? We'll move along next to the applicants here are Hallinan and Friedland. And the lot size and location, 18,710 square feet at 31 Breeze Hill Lane in Springs, tax map number 300-94-6-9. Description: to construct a 264 square foot garage and allow, and allow a 306 square foot deck to remain on a parcel of land containing tidal and freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20. Variances from 255-4-30 minimum wetland setbacks, 255-11-74A, other setbacks, and any other relief necessary. Variances are required 95.2 feet and 84.3 feet to construct the garage and allow the deck to remain 4.8 feet and 15.7 feet from wetlands where a 100-foot setback is required. One variance of 7 feet from the decking to remain 3 feet from the scenic easement where 10 feet is required. The zoning district is a B residence here, AE flood zone elevation 6. The secret class is type 2. And this is in Vice Chair Delene's Springs district. Roy, if you lead us off, please.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. This is a property that is on the easterly side of 3 Mile Harbor, over by Will Curl. And it's on 31 Breeze Hill Lane. It's right on the water. The neighborhood on Breeze Hill, if I can paint the picture, is a line of small cottages that have been there. This property itself has been through, received a ZBA determination previously in 2005, which was granted and approved. The present owner has bought the property in 2014, and there was an updated C of O in 2014. The applicant, in their presentation, was laid out that some of the issues on the property. There's a number of issues. There's a wetlands on the easterly side of the property that was filled in. There was a deck on the westerly side that was expanded, redone, and has encroached into further wetlands, requiring a variance, an NRSP, as well as a easement variance, because it was expanded by 2.5 feet. And further from that, the wetlands, the buffer or the easement has been maintained and cut, so to allow, which then has resulted in the growth of Phragmites that has grown in as a result. And the adjoining properties, if you remember, is natural, properly vegetated land, and the cutting of that natural vegetation has allowed the Phragmites to encroach. So there's a number of problems on this property. The owner the applicant has laid out that they would like to restore the wetlands. It was by doing 800 square feet of revegetation, along with 300 square feet of additional revegetation. They would remove the present shed on the thing, and the garage that they're proposing is 264. Their presentation outlined that it would increase the coverage of 69 square feet. They are offering an upgraded septic system as mitigation. The deck, as I stated earlier, was 2.5, not 2.1 feet closer to the wetlands, which also require a variance from the scenic easement. The house is about 2,000 square feet. The planning department's position on that, the vegetation in the easement has been cut down, which allowed the propagation of the Phragmites owner. Let's see. The garage, as proposed, is 4.8 feet from the wetlands. And one wetland, as I stated before, has been regraded, which has exacerbated the flooding on the road. And there are a number of wetlands. There's a wetland across the street, the planning department has also shown that the flooding over aerial photograph, there's significant evidence of the flooding in the roadway. This particular property, as redeveloped in 2005, I believe is a large property relative to the other improved properties on the lot, and I think is maxed out already. There is a septic field. I think the garage would add to the massing of this property, which would exceed and not be consistent with what is in the neighborhood. I also agree with the planning department's assessment that a new sanitary system does not rise to the level of mitigation required to offset the overdevelopment of this non-conforming lot. As a wetland size, this application does not meet the standards for an NRSP as outlined by the planning department. I also think, as I said earlier, this property is also substantially large for the character of the neighborhood and does not support 255-111 over the orderly growth. So it's my recommendation that this property be denied and returned to the 6/22/2011 determination, or that's 2011 determination. That's my assessment, to deny the application.
Thank you, Roy. Can I just ask, Roy, if I may just jump in, not to get into my opinion, but I just wanted to know if it were returned to the conditions that we're looking for, and the new IA system were installed as well, would you be leaning to deny the shed or not? Or I'm just wondering if that, because I'm jumping ahead of myself, and I'm just wondering how you would feel about that.
If you're asking if the new septic system will offset a shed that exists, possibly. I think. And
I'm not also suggesting that if the application.
Oh, you're talking about the garage?
Sorry. I'm sorry.
You were talking about the shed or the garage?
I'm sorry, the garage. I was talking about the garage.
I don't think it does, because if you look at the property, and there was also opposition from neighbors about the size of this property already. I think the garage is just a massing issue that's on this property that's going to the existing garages on the street have pre-existed zoning, and they are relatively small to the cottages that are there. This property, I think, it looms over this neighborhood, and will exacerbate that looming.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to clarify that. Thanks, Roy. Let's see. Tim, you want to go next on this one?
Sure. I'm in complete agreement with the vice chairman. This is a very troubling property, and the amount of disturbance that's been done here is troubling, and it's creating some flooding problems. As to the standards that are in front of us based on what's being proposed, the proposed garage, as mentioned, requires a 95% variance. The proposed deck, a 84% variance. It in no way meets our NRSP standards, which compels any structures to be built on upland. When you're talking about variances like that, it just can't be. I would note that the planning department has recommended denial of the application and indicates that the current regrading is such. All the other factors of this property, it was further recommended that this get sent to code enforcement. I happen to agree with that based on everything that we see. I don't know if it was mentioned, but the deck went from simply being elongated stairs that dropped down to being built into a deck that extended another 2 feet forward. So a reconfiguration on that front. I just think there's a lot of troubling elements to this property that needs to be addressed. And then honestly, I don't know that there is a significant enough mitigation that could be proposed to put a garage where it's being suggested, just based on how close it is to the wetlands. Basically, across the street from this property is a swamp, and pretty clear that there was a significant portion of that swamp that at one point was on this side of the street as well. And the regrading and so forth was designed to try to mitigate that, I guess, from the property owners. So I just don't think that there's anything about this that rises to the level of our standards, and I would be looking to deny it. And secondarily, I would recommend that we send it to code enforcement to address some of these issues.
Thank you, Tim. Ed?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm in agreement with my fellow board members. I think that there were several things here that were alarming to me. The ones that have been already mentioned, I think, are important. When you asked, Mr. Chair, whether or not returning it to the 2011 condition of the property at that time, that they was the last time they got an approval from this board, would be a condition that would encourage us to maybe look more favorably on the garage. I would suggest that returning it to the 2011 condition is their responsibility, and it's not in any way a gift back to us. They were responsible for maintaining it on that level, even if there was a previous ownership. And I think in this case here, that's something that would have to happen. I think that this is a property where a nonconformity was granted in 2011, and now we're being asked to grant another nonconformity. The size of the variances is really is quite great. I mean, again, I'm looking at 95.2 and 84.3 for two different situations. I think this is a large ask. Then I think the condition that's been pointed out by member Brenneman, that the water conditions on this property and on adjacent land are all fairly sensitive, maybe more than fairly, are sensitive and need to be considered. I don't see that the offer of an IA system, although a great improvement, and any time we can get one, in any way offsets the request for the garage and its current location and under these circumstances. So along with my fellow board members, I'm looking to deny this application.
Thank you, Ed. Terry?
Yeah, I too agree with everything that was said. I don't want to repeat everything, but again, the huge variances of 95.2 and 84.3, and to allow the shed to remain, I do agree that it should go to code enforcement. And, there's also like the character of the neighborhood is noted in the TAM that most of the accessory structures, there are very few accessory structures, and those that are legally exist and were constructed prior to modern environmental regulation. That is not the case here. So I think it does not meet the NRSP standards, and I do think it doesn't even come close to meeting the area variance standards. So I too am looking to deny it.
Thank you, Terry. Yes, I as well agree with all the comments of my fellow board members here. And I think the key issues that are important. As Roy mentioned, it is a looming house in the neighborhood already. My concerns with regard to the character of the neighborhood of adding yet another building there. And with regard to the offer of the IA system, as we know, this is a code compliant system that was put in within these retaining walls. Granted, it's not an IA system, but it is 90 feet. 90.7 feet. The leaching pools are back from the line of the wetlands. So I'm in full agreement with my fellow board members without repeating all the comments. Nancy Lynn?
Thank you. I have what I need. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on next, board members, to Christine Murphy at 257 East Lake Drive in Montauk, tax map number 300-13-1-13 and 19. And I just want to pick up here it is. So the lot size and location here, 74,321 square feet at 257 East Lake Drive, Montauk. And I've read it in the tax map already. To replace in kind, like kind, a 2,235 square foot first floor, 1,022 square foot second floor residence on a parcel of land containing bluffs and tidal wetlands. The relief sought a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 of the town code, and 2 variances are required for this project. 1 variance of 18 feet from 255-4-40 bluff setbacks. The town code is required to construct a residence 32 feet from the bluff, where 50 feet is required. 1 variance of 51 feet from 255-4-30 wetland setbacks. Of the town code to construct a residence 49 feet from wetlands where a 100-foot setback is required, and any other relief necessary. This is in an A residence zone. Flood zone is X. Secret class is type 2. And let's see, was this in?
It was in mine.
It's yours, Ed? Thanks.
Yeah, of course. You want me to take it now?
Yeah, please, if you would. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The board will remember that the public hearing for this application was held on August 3rd, 2021. We're working from a survey last updated on April 8th, 2021. There are several elements of this application that have to be mentioned and considered when trying to reach a decision here. You'll remember that we had an active conversation during the hearings and many points were raised from several different members. I think that there'll be some comments after mine that'll touch on areas that I don't, and I'm looking forward to that as well. This is a waterfront property situated on the eastern side of Lake Montauk. It's in its current ownership since 2017. In 2019, this property came before the zoning board and was granted 7 variances and approvals for 484 square foot of additions, 370 square foot of slate patios with trellis, 130 square feet of a second floor deck, a 50 square foot outside shower, 160 square foot of outside walkways, and an upgraded septic system. That's what was granted in the 2019 decision by this zoning board. Previous to the 2019 ZBA decision, the parcel received a building permit for the construction of a garage, a pool, an outside shower, a patio, an arbor, and a fireplace on the eastern edge of the property. All of these structures are more than 150 feet from wetlands and so are out of the zoning board's jurisdiction. Following the 2019 approval, the building permit was issued on September 28, 2020, and a stop work order was issued on November 19, 2020. At the public hearing, concern was voiced concerning the house prints that were submitted with the 2019 application. Subsequently, the applicant did submit the prints that were part of the 2019 approval, and when placed side by side with the as-built prints submitted with this application, there appears to be little variation between the two. Importantly, both the footprint and the maximum ridge height appear to be essentially the same. The issue, however, that brought about the stop work order was not related to discrepancies between the submitted prints of 2019 and the work that was more recently completed. The 2019 approval was for additions and improvement to an existing structure. That's important. At no time was the project represented to the board as a complete redevelopment. By removing the entire structure, the applicant has in effect is building an entirely new home in a non-conforming location. Had that possibility been presented to the board in 2019, it would have been reviewed in a much different light. Additionally, by constructing legally the garage, the swimming pool, and installing the new IA system, all in approved locations, there no longer exists an easy path to retreat the current structure further from the bluff. I think it's important also to note that we received several letters from neighbors, two of which pointed out when they approached the town for approvals to reconstruct homes on their own lakeside locations under similar circumstances, that they were forced to follow the strict building codes that are established to protect the town's fragile wetlands. Both would have preferred to totally rebuild their homes in their existing location, but instead worked within the building codes that related to the projects. In this case, we're looking at someone who is now completely removed from the foundation level up a structure and has replaced it with an all-new structure. This applicant has either intentionally or unintentionally completely removed the existing structure from above the foundation level and has proceeded to build a new home on a non-conforming site. Therefore, for me, in consideration of Town Code 255-8-50, I find that this new structure will create a detriment to nearby properties. And then in reference to Town Code 255-5-51 concerning eligibility for the issuance of an NRSP concerning primarily the preservation of natural resources, I do not think this application rises to the level needed for approval of a natural resources special permit. And lastly, in reference to Town Code 255-5-40, I think that the construction as now configured on the property is not compatible with the best interest of the surrounding properties. I think that aside from that reporting that I did on facts here, I thought that there was a certain amount of contention at that hearing that should be addressed by others within the board. But to me, I think that I would agree with the building department and that this project has proceeded in a way that was not only non-conforming, but was completely beyond the scope of what was allowed by the earlier decision. So I am looking to deny this application.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ed. Terry, since this is Montauk, would you like to go next, please?
Yeah, Ed did a great job in enumerating the comparisons on the plans that were submitted. It did say in the TAM that the project approved by this board back in 2019, the plans received now were the same, effectively the same. I agree with everything that member Johan has said. This was a pre-existing non-conforming house and it was taken down. I remember at this hearing, I was a little disturbed that the pool and the garage were being done. It was out of our purview at the time, but it seemed like that there was plenty of area to do a redevelopment of the property until then. I agree with this entire analysis, and I too am looking to deny this application.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Terry. Tim?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would use the troubling word here again with this application. It does certainly satisfy the definition of redevelopment. And with that, this board always looks for retreat and revegetation. In short, we look to improve the conditions of what previously was a pre-existing non-conforming property. This is a bad situation, but I don't think the circumstances play any role in how this fits against our standards. And if this were a new project coming to us, this is not something that we would consider. And this has essentially been converted now into something that is a new project in front of us. And so I think this entire project has to go back to the drawing board. And I'm in agreement with my fellow members that I would be looking to deny this application.
Thank you, Tim. Let's see, Roy, I'm sorry, Vice Chair Daleen, please, Roy.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I have said this multiple times in the past, and I'm going to say it again, that if there is on an application, if there is a previous determination, I believe this board is required to pause and consider those determinations in great deal before making their decision. This one especially is fresh in the majority of this board's mind. We have considered it, we debated it. What the troubling thing to me with this application is that from an examination of the drawings, and as the chairman said in the hearing, it appears as if this was intended from the beginning based on the drawings and the dates that we were looking at during the hearing. The applicant agent, or the applicant, I will say, pretends to say that redevelopment would have a further environmental impact, that this is a better impact or less of an impact on the property than a complete redevelopment, which I completely disagree with. This board has received and looked at many applications in the past, and we have worked out those applications where a house is demolished close to the water, restored buffers, and then moved before that, and with protocols properly in place. So I don't agree with the applicant's statement to that effect. I also agree that from looking at the drawings, the architect, the builder, the drawings show from what the builder was giving was a complete demolition of all these walls. Nobody adhered to what the 2019 application laid out and was about. So I agree with denying this application.
Thank you, Roy. Ed, remind me, just to make sure I'm certain, what if any of the appurtenances, I'll say, that the decks and the pool have been constructed to date? Would you just make sure I'm correct on that?
The approval for the beyond our jurisdiction?
Yeah, what of that? Nothing has been built of that.
Yeah, the garage is complete.
Oh, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon, okay.
The garage is complete and is looks like in good working order. The pool, I would say, is at some 80% complete. It's full of rainwater at this point. It doesn't have marble dust, and of course, it's not operational. No patio has happened, and some excavation has gone on for the pool house, and then it obviously stopped with the stop work order. So they were in the process of, the stop work order didn't apply to that, but it seems as if in the same era they stopped all construction. Anyway, the pool house is not done. The pool is 80% done, and the garage is complete.
Thank you, Ed. So I just wanted to say that I do. A few things. One is I agree with you all on this, and as Tim said, this has to go back to the drawing board. I think the whole site has to be reanalyzed, and whether this would go to code enforcement after we deny this application, obviously. But between now and a possible resubmission, I would hope the applicants consider moving the house back, and there are many other options there, but they can consider the whole site, as Ed said, what has been built, what has not been built. So I am in agreement with you all, and as well on a case such as this, I would like to see, besides going to code enforcement, I would like to have the licensing review board review the contractor. Granted, the contractor should get his or her day in court with a licensing review board that Roy chaired for, I believe, 25 years, Vice Chair Daleen. The contractor, I'm sure, has his or her side of the story here, but I would like to see that as part of our correspondence after this denial is written up, etc. Any other comments? Anyone else on this? No, Council, Nancy, let me get up that.
I just wanted to pull up code here for a second. I believe because there have been substantial changes to, let's see, the 2011 approval needs to be rescinded, so there's no confusion that obviously they can't build that because it's impossible. That's what they were doing here. But I think that we need to have, and I will research that and get that out to all of you as part of this, that this should probably make reference to the fact that that has, by their action, if this is what I hear the board saying, by their actions of removing the original buildings which they were just supposed to renovate or augment, that they have rendered that approval null and void as well.
Well, Nancy, I very much appreciate that because, and thank you for clarifying that, because that certainly will compel, if there is a new resubmission on this, that will compel them to realize that they can take the whole site into account with that resubmission. So thank you for that.
Right.
Can I just say, council, that was a 2019 decision and not a...
I'm sorry. The other one was, that's what I was looking at my notes. It was a 2019 on this one. Another earlier application was 2000. So it was 2019 app. So that would be, yeah, because it would still be technically valid. So time-wise. So I will add some language in this one to reference that, if that's what the board wants, but that's what I was hearing.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make sure that was where you were at.
We all agree, board members, correct? Everyone agree with that?
We are.
Yep. Thank you, Nancy Lynn. Okay, we will move on next. We have Patricia McCarthy. I'll read this in. Lot size location, 6,159.7 square feet at 21 Royer Place, Oceanside at Montauk. Map number 2730 in Montauk, tax map number 300-6, 300-31-3-24. Description is to allow an existing deck extension, bin, outdoor shower, reconfigured staircase, shed, stone patio, stone landscaping, and wall and stone walkway to remain on a property, and to construct a front stoop, an extension and covered porch, a deck addition, and AC screens on a property that contains freshwater wetlands. The relief sought, a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-40 and 10 variances from 255-4-30 wetland setbacks. Variances of 81.4 feet, 64 feet, 64.7 feet, 62.3 feet, 40 feet, 25 feet, 45.5 feet, 39 feet, 46 feet, and 82.3 feet are required to allow an existing stone wall, 18.6 feet, stone patio, 36 feet, stone walkway, 35.3 feet, an existing and proposed deck extension, stair reconfiguration, 37.7 feet, a proposed covered porch entryway extension, 56.9 feet, proposed AC screen, 75 feet, an existing shower, 54.5 feet, an existing bin, 61 feet, an existing fence, 54 feet, and an existing shed, 17.7 feet from a wetland where 100 feet is required, and any other relief necessary from East Hampton Town Code. This is in the zoning district of B residence, flood zone AE, flood zone elevation 14, secret class type 2, and Montauk. Let's see.
That's Terry.
Terry. Thank you, Terry, if you would.
Okay. If you recall, this is a Reuter Place in the Ditch Plains area of Montauk. And our hearing on this had been back on June 22nd. Actually, I thought the chair just said 10 variances. It was 11 variances, but
I was reading from the public notice here, but anyway,
Oh, okay. I'm looking at the TAM that was updated in May. Okay. Anyway, I counted 11 on my list.
There are 11.
There's
Okay.
11. Yeah, okay. So this was a property that goes back to the original build of this house was in 1979. And at that time, this property is small. It's a very constrained property. There is nowhere on this property that you could do anything without getting an NRSP and a variance, or within wetlands jurisdictions. You can see by the variances requested that they're quite substantial in many of the cases. So in 1979, when this was first built, this area, it included, there was a water course that ran directly through the property where the house is located. And at that time, they redirected that water course, and it was done legally at that time to reroute it and have the house built. And over time with the applicant, this applicant, we believe, came into possession around the year 2000, Patricia McCarthy, and then it went into her irrevocable trust in 2017. So most of the variances are to cover things that are already there, which includes the stone patio, the walkway, some of the decking, shed, some of the fencing, the shower, a bin, AC screening, and an existing stone wall. There's a landscaping stone wall that you see there in the survey. And the new items that are actually being proposed in this require a variance of 82.3 feet for the deck expansion that's listed in the back of the house. And you can see on the survey, there's a 17.7 foot from the wetlands on that location. And then in the front of the house, the front stoop expansion that they're looking to do. We see it's proposed extended deck and I guess a proposed covering of that porch. And those are the three that are actually not in place today. Now, the applicant at the hearing, they have offered, or they offered prior to the hearing, a scenic easement that covers the area of the wetlands itself. Some of the wire fencing has been removed that you see down, and that where it says to be removed, I believe already was removed. And there was another little wall down near the entrance of the wetlands on the east side that was also taken away. So the applicants have offered what the planning department has estimated at about a 4,500 scenic easement. And they have, as I said, the entire property is located within 100 feet of the wetlands. The clearing is pre-existing to NRSP code that started in 1984. So they are exempt from the rule of no clearing within 50 feet of the wetlands. And the applicant has offered a 5-foot buffer along with that scenic easement. The planning department had wanted a 10-foot buffer that would go along these from the wetlands. And the applicant was unwilling to agree to that. They were open to a 5-foot buffer along with the scenic easement. So overall, I know these variances are huge, but considering the uniqueness of this property from its original construction right to the present time, most of the items that the variances are requested, they were already there, and they are not a large amount of square footage in total. There was a submission from the agent, Tara Burke, that itemizes out the total sizes of all of those items. I would like, I don't know, Lenny maybe could show the scenic easement on that sketch. There was a sketch attached to the TAM on that. And you can see the pink area there is the scenic easement that will cover the entire wetland structure. And then that red line, I believe is the 10-foot buffer line. So I am looking to approve the new construction of the front porch and the extended deck at the west side of the house along Reuter Place. Because the applicant was not willing to do the 10-foot buffer, I think I'm looking to approve all the things that were already existing, since it is so constrained, except for the proposed deck extension in the back of the house, which will be 17.7 feet from the wetlands. So I'm looking to deny that particular part, and that's probably what I have to say. I believe that's everything.
Okay, thank you.
Terry, can I get
Yeah.
clarification? How about the AC screening? Is that?
The AC screening's all up in the front, and that's already there.
Okay,
Photos from the hearing, there already was some screening. And some of their fencing, I believe, said also from the applicant's agent that it's seasonal, so.
okay. So it's just the variance of the 82.3 is what you would look to deny, and the other 10 variances you would look to approve?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Ed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that Member Berger covered most of the points that I would have wanted to mention. I did visit the site as well. I think it's an accurate description to say that these parcels like this in ditch plains, which were developed a good long time ago, have many facets to them that would no longer be approved in terms of what we now are looking for in terms of distances from wetlands and so forth. Most of what was here, as was described by Member Berger, not only just pre-existing, but take very small area and are close to the house, some small portion of a garden. I didn't see any of those as being particularly a problem for me to consider approving. I'm very much in favor and happy to hear about the easement of the wetlands, because obviously we'd like to see that protection. I did, however, agree with the planning department, thought that the 10-foot buffer was significant and important, that the 5-foot buffer would not be really enough to ensure a real sort of protection for that area. And I would agree with the assessment of Member Berger that I would be happy to approve the 10 variances, but not the deck extension in the rear, as long as we do not have that 10-foot buffer. So given the fact that they don't want to do it and that they're only looking for a 5-foot buffer, I would agree just about precisely with Member Berger, and that I will approve, I'd be willing to approve the 10 variances, but not approve the extension of the deck on the east side of the house.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Pardon me, thank you, Ed. Tim?
Yeah, and I just wanted to understand what Member Johan just said there. Are you approving it based on a 10-foot buffer, or are you approving it based on a 5-foot buffer?
Thank you for helping me straighten out what I said. But I know I should not have even brought up the 10-foot buffer if it wasn't going to be contingent on a decision. No, I'm approving the 10 variances based on the proposal from the applicant at this point to have a 5-foot buffer, but denying the 11th because we do not have the 10-foot buffer. I might have reconsidered. So to answer your question, yes.
Yeah, okay, very good. I just wanted to understand that. So I guess I'm in agreement with my fellow members here. I would state it a different way. I would be willing to approve the entire application in return for the planning department recommended 10-foot buffer. Now, number one, The first point I'd like to make is that this is an owner that's been there for a very, very long time. And so this is something of a cleanup application. We see these periodically. There's a lot of things that have occurred over a long period of time without obviously an understanding of the requirements of an NRSP approval. And so we're cleaning up a lot of very small kind of improvements that have been made over a long, long period. On the other hand, we know this area pretty well because these homes come in front of us as a zoning board very frequently. Number one, we're very familiar with Hampton Avenue because we had a recent decision there, and we saw that improvements there had a major impact on runoff and the way water flowed, and that was brought back in front of us. We also know that this area is unique in that the water runs to the north, and so Ditch Plains actually drains into Montauk, specifically the southern end of Montauk, which is the most troubled from an environmental standpoint. So from my perspective, anytime that we have properties in front of us that are looking to do things like this, which is, there's no question these are on the surface very substantial variances, we should do everything that we possibly can to protect the water that is pouring into Lake Montauk from this area. So I would go the other way on this. I would approve the application with a 10-foot buffer. I think that is in our best interest as a zoning board and as a community. I realize that wasn't agreed upon, but that would be my offer here. I'd rather not approve all of this for a 5-foot buffer. I just don't think it's significant enough to deal with the matter at hand. To me, the matter at hand is the wetlands and the health of Lake Montauk that's impacted by this.
Thank you, Tim. Roy?
Yes, and I too am in agreement with everybody so far that the recommended 10-foot buffer is adequate mitigation for the extension of the deck. I do agree, and perhaps Ed and Terry might consider it, that we do write this up as an approval conditioned on a 10-foot buffer. I think denying it like it is, it would be, then they have to come back to us again. Here they have the condition based on it. So I think I too would agree that we should approve it based conditioned on a 10-foot buffer.
All right, thank you, Roy. My opinion.
My comment on that, though, is that we brought it up at the hearing, and the agent was pretty clear that the applicant did not want to give on the 10-foot buffer.
In one way, it's 6 of one, half dozen the other in the way we word it, though. But I
don't know, except we're proving it condition.
There's different options. One option would be that you get all 11 if you do the 10-foot buffer. That's one way. Another way is to just do it as with the 5-foot buffer, you get 10. The other, another way to do it is to say with the 5-foot buffer, you get 10. But if you do a 10-foot buffer, you also have the ability to get the 11th, so that you can make it a kind of an escalating approval that that with what they are in agreement with, they can get the 10 of them. But if they decide to reconsider, the approval does have the flexibility of being able to be utilized to get that 11th one if they choose to change their position on the buffer.
Okay, thanks, Nancy. Now I'm just going to make my comment here, then we can go around again on this. But basically, I agree with everything that Board Member Brenneman stated. I won't try to match his eloquence with that. And I was going to say the same as Roy, that perhaps we could go back around the table and see how Ed and Terry feel about that. And as far as your comments, Nancy Lynn, I appreciate them. I really want to see the 10-foot buffer, and I'd almost rather keep it simple if we do all agree to this, that the application is approved. And I just want to accentuate Tim's comment about, existing conditions coming back, trying to clean things up here, and what the real goal for us here is to protect the wetlands. And I think a 10-foot buffer makes a big difference than the 5-foot. But so having said that, if we could agree to just approve it with that with that as a condition, it might be simple. But I'd like to hear again from Terry and from Ed, their thoughts on that.
I'll go first then. I'm not in disagreement with both the last three members have said, including you, Mr. Chairman. If I worded it in a way that made it more clumsy than it had to be, it was because I was operating on the same assumption that was made by Member Berger, and that is that at the meeting it was offered and there was no interest on the part of the applicant. And if that's the case, then it's going to be hard to approve this. However, rewording it to say that, and I'm making it an offer, that with a 10-foot buffer, we approve all 11, is not a problem for me. I can go along with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed. Terry?
I like the idea of the escalating, give them the choice.
I'm fine with the escalating too. So I think that's a, it's a very small difference, but I would agree with that.
Tim, how do you feel? Again, Tim.
If that's the way we go, I would, if we decide to go with a 5-foot buffer, then I would not be in favor of that. So it sounds like the majority of the board will be, but I would not vote for that one.
Yeah, so I'm going to be where I stick to the 10-foot buffer because I think it makes such a big difference. So it sounds like Tim and I are on board that we hold fast to 10 feet.
I'm not clear then because I think we're saying the 10-foot buffer, or are we saying 10-foot buffer on all 11?
No, but the escalating would be saying 10-foot buffer on all of them, or if you just do a 5-foot buffer, you get 10 of the 11. And I'd rather just make it simple. And I think Tim agrees with that. And I'm not sure if that's how you see it, Roy. I think that's kind of the key here. Should we just go around?
I kind of feel it's splitting hairs, but
Well, I mean, just to, explain my position, the planning department was very firm on 10 feet, protecting those wetlands.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
From my perspective, that's what the goal here is.
Yeah.
I would agree with that too, but I think these wetlands are very important wetlands to Lake Montfort. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'm also in agreement with taking the position that we offer approvals with the 10-foot buffer.
Okay. Terry, how do you want to go final on this one?
Fine, do it.
Okay. Okay, thank you all. We good, Nancy Lynn? On that one? Nancy Lynn?
Sorry, I forgot I was on mute.
That's right.
Yes, I'm good on that one. So my understanding is that we're talking all or nothing and we're talking 11 but the condition is that there be a 10-foot buffer.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And if they don't do the 10-foot buffer, they get nothing.
They got nothing. Right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you all for that discussion. We'll move on next. We have the applicants are Gori Burakondi Edlick and Alexander Edlick. And the lot size and location is 19,861 square feet at 40 Roxbury Lane, Westwood, Lot 50, and part of Lot 51, map number 2856. Wayne Scott, tax map number 300-197-6-1. Descriptions to allow the existing residence to remain 758 square feet over the maximum allowable gross floor area, and the existing slate patio to remain within front yard lot line setbacks. One variance of 758 square feet from 255-11-67 of the East Hampton Town Code is required to allow the residence to remain at 4,344 square feet, where 3,586 square feet is the maximum gross floor area allowable.
One variance of 22.2 feet is required from 255-11-10 of the town code in order to allow the slate patio to remain 7.8 feet from the northern front yard lot line where a 30-foot setback is required and any other relief necessary. This is in a B residence zone. The flood zone's X. The secret class is type 2. And this is in board member Tim Brenneman's district. Tim, if you'd start us off, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is, I think, one of the more interesting applications that we've had in front of us for a long time. I have to say that I attended the first hearing, and when I got done with that first hearing, I had a point of view. I rewatched the hearing and ultimately came away with the same point of view. But there's certainly a lot of information here to unpack, and so let me get to it. First of all, the home sits in Wainscott. It's on Roxbury Lane, but it also is bordered by Wainscott Northwest Road. So we have a home with 2 front yards, if you will, from a zoning standpoint. There are 2 issues here, one of which is a 758 square foot variance that is required because the home is currently 758 square feet over the maximum allowable GFA. And the second relates to a slate patio that's within the front yard lot line. That is requiring a variance of 22 feet where 30 feet is required. So it's a pretty substantial variance on its own. The applicants, if you recall, this was a date of hearing on June 22nd, 2021. And I'll be making my comments based off of a survey that was dated August 11th, 2020. The applicants were represented by Andy Goldstein. Just to summarize the agent's point of view on this, he described this application as a result of a bait and switch fraud that was related to the Farrell Building Company. Now, those are his words, not mine. He further indicated that the company had defrauded both the town of East Hampton and the applicant in this process. Essentially, the way this went is that the Farrell Building Company filed a building permit. That permit was rejected because of excess GFA. The building permit was, the project was changed, the plans were changed, and the revised permit was issued. And then after that revised permit was issued, the builder then went back and built the original plan, which was the excessive GFA plan. And essentially that plan was to build an additional bedroom and bathroom with a dormer that was related to the original plan. We of course heard from the applicants, and in fact, the applicants were sworn in and testified in front of us that they agreed with this sequencing, and further that they were unaware of any of the back and forth. From their perspective, the original plan which was submitted was always the plan, and they had no knowledge of this. I'd also like to state, just for the record, I have no reason to in any way dispute what the applicants testified. In fact, I tend to agree with them in terms of their position in this matter. So whatever finding I make, we make, I don't think we're in any way indicating that we disagree with the applicants in this regard. Also, in the meanwhile, had the original plan been submitted for a variance, it would have been a 390 square foot variance, which was 9% variance, but there was a code change throughout this process. And as a result of that, the variance required related to GFA shifted to 758 and almost doubled the variance percentage that's being asked for. The applicant's agent argues that the conduct of the builder is such here that this decision would not be a precedent. And further, that the project manager who was directly involved with this is deceased. And again, that the applicants were defrauded. The argument was also put forth that the house has been this way from a physical appearance from the outside since 2014, that the granting of this variance would in no way change the physical exterior of the home. And as a result of that, the grant of the variance also would not change the character of the neighborhood. In addition to that, I believe we received 7 letters from neighbors in support of this application. The other thing that came up throughout the hearing was a matter of overclearing. The current clearing on the property is 19,861 square feet, whereas the allowable clearing is 14,862 square feet. That is a substantial difference. Also, as we were involved in the hearing, the applicant's agent also withdrew the front yard variance for the porch / walkway. And they also made a verbal offer to install the IA system, septic system. Let's see, the other thing I wanted to bring out is that under questioning, we were able to determine that there is a litigation that is currently active related between the applicant and the builder, and that in fact the judge had directed the applicant to apply for the variance from the ZBA in order to exhaust all administrative remedies that might be available to them. The applicant further indicated that the legal remedy would be damages. However, they were not interested in damages as much as wanting the home as they had originally bargained for. The TAM is very clear in the way it walks through here, and I think the applicants were very clear. There was also a submission after the hearing, PowerPoint presentation that kind of reiterated the entire project, the entire process. So in summation, we're presented with a substantial variance request. The applicants testified under oath as to the sequence and their lack of knowledge to this. Again, I have no reason to doubt the sequence of events or their knowledge. The issue, it seems to me, is with regard to precedent. And to me, the nature of this decision, should we approve it, which is essentially, an extension of a contractor error, a contractor fraud, if you will. And what that precedent might do to future submissions if we open the door to other applications and other applicants who claim contractor fraud and or error. And the one element of this that I am having a hard time getting my head around is one of the core variance standards that we're asked to review, and that is the applicant shall have the burden of showing that the benefit accruing him from grant of the requested variance outweighs any harm which will be caused to the neighborhood or the town, and that the variance request is the minimum variance needed to alleviate his difficulty while safeguarding the character of the neighborhood and the general welfare of the town. And from my point of view, I am leaning toward denying this application because I can't get past that variance standard. That the precedent-setting nature of this decision is something that would come boomeranging back at us as a community and as a zoning board over and over again. Again, I'm not suggesting that this was in any way premeditated on the part of the applicant. I feel for the applicant. But I do feel like the applicant does have a remedy here through litigation that they're currently involved in. And I just can't bring myself to get beyond the precedent-setting nature of this decision. And so as a result of that, I am unfortunately looking to deny this application.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Roy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Member Brenneman, that was an amazing unpacking of the facts of the case. I just want to say that I'm not going to reiterate any one of them. There's a couple of other troubling parts of this, and that is the different C of Os. There were, I think, 4 C of Os, or 3 or 4 C of Os in 42714. There was a C of O that stated 3871 square foot. There was a C of O in 2015, in 2 of 2015. That C of O then stated 3982. I believe the applicant has stated that it was him that discovered the discrepancies on the C of O and was attempting to get them rectified. At that point, it became obvious that this bait and switch fraud from this builder came about that without the applicant. And I do too agree with Mr. Brenneman that the applicant did under oath state that they did not know. I believe them. They said it under oath, and I think there's a lot of weight to that. However, for me, it comes down to, as it did with member Brenneman, is this a precedent or not a precedent issue? The applicant states that due to the fact that it is fraud of the owner, that it will not set a precedent. I'm not aware that he brought any case law to that effect or whatever, but I too agree that this would open the floodgates to future GFA issues. This board looks at GFA much like it does pyramid variances very closely, and the code is clear on that. I think that also this particular builder does have a history with this board with doing similar actions, which goes also to the weight of my decision that it would deny this application, because I do think that precedent is an issue in this case.
Thank you, Roy. Ed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm in full agreement with the two board members who spoke, and I want to thank Member Brenneman as well. Echo Vice Chair Zeline's comments. I thought it was an excellent job of putting out all the facts that we really were pertinent to us in making a decision. I also come down to the very same conclusion that the previous board members did, and that is that, are we setting a precedent here? Or are we opening a door? What do we leave ourselves vulnerable for in the future if we were to approve a nonconformity merely because there's been admittedly quite an inconvenience and quite a punishment rendered to this individual, the applicant here. I have great empathy for what they're going through, and I think that it's really quite unfortunate. However, I'm not sure it ever belonged coming to us. It seems to me that this is something that could have been handled both in litigation and is really a problem that occurred between two parties away from what would be our normal concerns. The fact that it is in front of us and we have to make a decision, I'm as troubled as the previous two board members here with the idea that if we were to allow this at this time, there'll be other iterations of this kind of situation. There'll be other permutations, ways that are just slightly different. We keep coming back. Are we in a position where a board should be approving a nonconformity when we clearly know that we're not in a position to, we shouldn't be in a position to, simply because we want to alleviate the pain of the applicant? I have sympathy, but I too am looking to deny this application.
Thank you, Ed. Terry?
Sorry, my cursor wouldn't go to the right place. I too am in agreement with all my board members, my fellow board members. I was concerned looking at the various C of Os, 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom, 6-bedroom. I too think that the variance requested is very high, and it's not the minimum necessary. I am sympathetic for the applicant. However, I do think that we can't sacrifice our town code in order to have the applicant more comfortable or whatever. But, there is other action that they can take, and I too am looking to deny these variances.
Okay, thank you, Terry. I'll make a comment here. Again, Tim, thank you for doing such an excellent job, and also for the public listening, the way you laid that all out for us, the crazy history about this. And with regard to your last comment, I have to say that I agree with my fellow board members on this. I feel badly about it, and I want to make a few comments why. Coming into this evening, I was thinking, I feel really badly that I believe the applicants here, we basically had their attorney depose them at the public hearing. You recall when he went through the questions. They have all of the legal backings, as we all know. There's many, many pages of backing information. The Farrell Building Company basically admitted their guilt here. No matter what happens here, I would like to see the Licensing Review Board have a hearing with regard to this with the Farrell Building Company, because it is just completely egregious that they're selling a house to clients. They think they're getting a certain house, and then because of their diligence looking at their C of O, they realize things aren't correct. And it is concerning, I'll say this, that there were 3 different C of Os. I mean, pardon me, I believe 3, but the most recent, there was a 14, 15, 16, maybe another one too. One said 4, one said 5, one said 6. The 4 was perhaps with a building permit, and the others, it's just strange. They were signed by different building inspectors. Only one of those is our principal building inspector today, Ann Glennon. But that was disconcerting to see that. And I was thinking about the mitigation of this, because I feel so badly about the owners here, but we cannot be really subjective. That's not our goal here. We have to look at, as Tim says, the whole town and the precedent that this could be setting for the contractor error issue. And in denying this application along with you all, I would note that it goes back into a judge's hand, I imagine. And I will say that later, depending on how that goes or how it does not go, there would be nothing that would eliminate the opportunity of these applicants to come back to this board, for instance, looking for that bedroom, putting in the IA, maybe revegetating 40% of the lot. Right now, the lot is clear to 100% when only 75% of the lot is allowed to be clear. So I believe they could always come back after that litigation has gone through. But I must say, I feel badly for them, but I thank Tim for the way you laid it all out there, and I completely agree with you, and reluctantly deny this application. Any other comments, board members?
No.
Okay. We will move on now to Robert Smith at 586 Montauk Highway in Montauk, tax map number 300-47-1-1.1. And pardon me, I just want to get my notice here. I apologize. I'm looking for the public notice here. Does someone have that in front of them? They could read this into the record so I don't hold us up here looking for this. Anyone have that, or the description, the notice?
I do. Just if you give me
do.
just 2 seconds, I can.
Could
grab
you?
it.
The project description.
Sure, if you want to go ahead and read it in. Terry, if you have it in front of you.
Yeah.
From the beginning, the applicant's a lot size. I just don't have it in front of me. I apologize.
Okay, the applicant is Robert Smith. At
Yeah.
Location of the property is at 586 Montauk Highway in Montauk. It's type 2 secra. The project is, it's in FEMA zone, ex-flood zone. Size of the parcel is 30,372 square feet. Project description is to demolish the existing residence and associated structures and to construct a new 4,328 square foot residence with 800 square feet swimming pool, 64 square foot hot tub, pool decking, accessory building, roof decking, driveway, and a new sanitary system, which requires temporarily exceeding the town's clearing limits and will exceed the town's maximum height requirements. The relief requested is one variance of approximately 3 feet required from 255-1110 to construct the proposed deck railing approximately 28 feet above natural grade, where a 25-foot maximum is allowable. One variance of 2,783 square feet is required from 255-2-60 of the town code to temporarily clear 2,019 square feet of the parcel, where 17,236 square feet is the maximum allowable.
Thank you, Terry. I have it in front of me now. Thank you. And this is in an A residence zone, flood zone X, and secret class type 2. And let's see, Ed, was this you?
Yes, it was, Mr. Chairman.
If you would, please, Ed. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will remember that the public hearing for this application was on June 22nd, 2021. Property is located at 586 Montauk Highway in Montauk. At the time of the public hearing, the board was working from a site plan that was drawn on September 29th, 2021. After the hearing on July 21st, 2021, we received a survey from George Walbridge dated November 1, 2019. That's the survey that we are working from at this time. Although you'll see that up on the board, we have what is a planning plan. The site plan is what we reviewed during the time of during the public hearing. Initially, the board was asked to consider 2 variances with this application. One concerning the height of a safety rail to be installed at the perimeters of a roof deck, and the second to allow the applicant to temporarily clear 20,019 square feet of the parcel where 17,236 square feet is allowed. The need for the height variance was eliminated when the applicant proposed a transparent glass rail at the roof deck, which was approved by the Town of East Hampton Building Department. Therefore, we're no longer considering the height variance that was requested in the initial application. In reference to the proposed temporary clearing on the site, the planning department suggested in the TAM that a more diverse and robust planning plan be proposed. And on July 21, 2021, this board received a revised planning plan, which was more in line with the desires of the planning board. It is important to note that this board was only asked to review these two issues. Letters were received from neighbors expressing concern over the size of the project overall, but this parcel did not trigger an NRSP review, and all other improvements that are proposed at the site were reviewed and approved by others. Reference to the Town Code 255-8-50, I do not feel that the proposed clearing and the replanting that is proposed on this site will change the character of the neighborhood significantly. And so therefore, I am prepared under these circumstances, knowing that the proposed planting plan will have to be followed and regulated by our planning department. I'm willing to approve this application at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed. Terry?
Well, I am in agreement with Member Johan on this for the same reason. We know the glass railing eliminated the 3-foot variance, and the revegetation plan after the temporary clearing does look robust and looks like it will do its job. There is no natural resources permit for this, so I too am looking to approve it.
Thank you, Terry. Roy?
I agree, Mr. Chairman, with my two board members from Montauk. I have nothing else to add.
Thank you, Roy. Tim?
Same here. I thought thoughtful repackaging of the information to us, and I agree with Member Johan's assessment.
Thank you. I do as well. Thank you, Ed, for that. Thank you, board members. Council, we all good with that then?
Yes, I have everything I need. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on next to other decisions. We'll start off with John H. Somoza at 1 Rose Hill Road, East Hampton, tax map number 300-134-1-6.21, to allow this application to move forward without updating the survey to include topography, new construction setbacks from the wetland. And Eleni is going to introduce this to us, our board members, and this is in board member Tim Brenneman's East Hampton district. Thank you, Eleni.
Okay, thank you. So this is the survey that was submitted for review. The planning department had asked, as with all natural resources special permits, that topography be added to the survey. The applicant, he is a very nice man. He has started doing the work on the project and got a stop work order. So he was replacing in place and kind the pool deck there and some of the footings of the pool deck as well. So that would trigger a natural resources special permit. Although it is within 100 feet of the wetland, it would not trigger variances because it's replacing in place and kind. However, he is also extending the pool deck slightly on this side. It's more than 100 feet from the wetlands over here. And then I believe adding a staircase over here. So that's not shown on the survey right now. We do typically ask for topography and the proposed improvements to be shown on the survey. The planning department would like to note that this is an application that, if complete, we would consider bringing to the board for administrative review, since there's no, since it is more than 100 feet from the wetlands where the improvements are, and that they're not encroaching. However, because they're not showing it as complete, he had asked that the board waive this requirement, and it's up to the board to decide.
Thank you. Thank you, Eleni. Tim?
Yeah, I looked at this and I think I would be willing to go forward with the with it moving forward without the updated survey. We know how backed up the surveyors are and what's involved with that. And so I think the fact that the improvements are more than 100 feet away and the rest of this is a replacement in kind, I'd go along with this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Ed?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Member Brenneman. I think that I'd be willing to have this move forward without an updated survey at this time. For the reasons that he mentioned, I think this is well within an acceptable range for me to approve this moving forward. Thank you.
Terry?
Yeah, they have a permit, right, Eleni?
No.
No.
They don't have a permit.
No, this would be, they're
They're
requesting it
applying for
now.
a permit? That's what they're
They're
requesting.
applying for it
Okay.
now.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
Roy?
Yes, I agree too, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I'm going to say, this work was done, the extension, without a building permit, as far as I know. And we do request from applicants, all applicants, basically, on something like this, topography on the survey. And I agree with you all that surveyors are backed up. I would be fine having this move forward administratively, as long as the survey is updated in the process before it is granted, obviously. And there's something like a 5-foot contour between the proposed work or the back of the house, we could say, to the wetlands. And the 5 foot is a lot simpler, and we would get this way, it would give the surveyors time to do that work without holding it from moving forward. So that would be my position on this application. Because again, just to reiterate, everyone else who comes before us, pretty much, I've been here 7 years. I don't know if we've done even one of these, or possibly one where we did not require the topo. So that's my sentiment here. Council, are you good with that?
So, it's not something I need to write up. It's direction for Eleni to give to the applicant.
Yeah.
So, you are
Well,
allowing this to be a complete application then? It's not for you to decide if it's going administratively. It's whether or not the board is waiving the requirement, the standard requirement that there be an updated survey for it to move forward.
So I think that's a 4-to-1, right? That would be a 4-to-1. So does Tim make a motion or do we?
No, this is just
understanding,
well, you can make a motion to waive the requirement of a updated survey. I think that it would be helpful to explain why you are doing that in this case, so that you don't open the floodgates to everybody saying, I'd like my application to go forward without a survey.
That's my
just
concern.
so that the planning department isn't inundated with that request going forward. So I'm not saying that there isn't a basis in what you have already discussed. I'm just saying that maybe it could be framed in that manner so that it would be clear that it's differentiated from other applications as to why it doesn't require the things that they're looking, the things that the planning department pointed out that are not on the survey that they normally would have and would be able to look is at the topography, where the new construction is intended, and what those setbacks are from the wetland line, which is not on the current survey.
Perhaps, can I ask a couple of questions just to clarify? Eleni, in general, is this a generally flat piece of land, or is there a big gradient between this pool and the wetlands?
It does slope down towards the wetlands. I have from our aerial, the topography that we have. It's obviously not survey accurate, but it's from our GIS system. So you can see that it does slope towards the wetlands.
I wouldn't even mind, if I could add something real quickly, Roy, and thank you, Nancy Lynn, for summarizing it that way, because those are exactly my sentiments as far as the precedent going forward. And I won't even, I'm not trying to make delays for months here. I wouldn't even mind if a surveyor was able to use the GIS, and as I say, these look like these are 2-foot contours, but just to have it on the survey. And mostly, I just want what they did without a building permit on the survey. It's just, I don't know why this would be the person who we'd start relaxing requirements on when they're just doing work without permits. So I'm sorry, that's my opinion on that.
Let me also just revise my position, because I am not looking to create a precedent as respects to this. I don't have rationale for that. I read the applicant's letter and was somewhat sympathetic to it. But I don't think that his letter rises to the level of us creating a new precedent as respects to our requirements. So let me pivot to the chairman's position on this, which is more thoughtful than my original position.
Thank you, Tim. Any other comments, board members?
It's the reason I asked that question. I wanted to know if there was a general slope toward the wetlands, and I think that's a paramount decision. Thank
you, Roy. Ed?
Well, I'm going to agree again with Member Brenneman. I appreciate the chair's comments relative to precedent in us never having moved forward without having a topo in a situation like this. Not something that had crossed my mind when I was making my initial decision, but I certainly am in support of the ideas that you've expressed about how necessary it might be under these circumstances.
Thank you, Ed. Terry?
Yeah, I'll switch to.
Okay. Thank you all. Okay, let's see. Next, we'll move on to 39 Hoppin LLC at 39 Hoppin Avenue in Montauk, tax map number 300-31-2-2. And here a motion is needed for a modification on the existing NRSP and variances which were granted for the construction of a residence, decking, driveway, and sanitary system. The modification is requesting to allow the regrading of the property in order to meet the board's requirements for a certificate of occupancy. And Tyler, I believe, is here this evening. Is Tyler with us this evening?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. Thanks, Tyler. Tyler's going to walk us through, and I believe this is Terry's motion to make if she wishes to do so.
Sure. So it should be fairly straightforward. This is, the board is obviously very familiar with this at this point. They're in to have a new hearing in order to have the modification to allow the regrading back here to divert the water coming from the south over towards the west, towards the wetlands. The survey does show them fixing some of the errors that were done, including cutting back this decking here and fixing the driveway, which was larger and further west than it was originally approved. So that's what the survey is showing. It's mainly the new regrading. But the board is just voting tonight to decide if they want to have a new hearing in order to move forward with this.
Yeah, okay. Tyler, I'm okay to have a new hearing. They're going back to the proposed decking, though. This is, what are they doing? They're cutting that back, or is this where they had it going closer to the wetlands?
Right. They're gonna cut it back to meet what was approved. They're not requesting anything different than what was originally approved.
Okay, and the same thing for the parking.
Exactly.
It's going to come in. Okay. All right. Yeah, I will make a motion for 39 Hoppin LLC at 39 Hoppin Avenue, Montauk, tax map 300-031-02-2 to have a new hearing on the modification for the regrading, for the drainage.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur.
And I concur. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Terry. Moving on, we have Emmanuel Fresco at 19 Isle of Wight Road, Springs, tax map number 300-37-2-6. A motion is needed for a modification of an existing NRSP, which was granted for the construction of a 512 square foot swimming pool, pool fence, pool equipment, etc. The modification is requesting to remove all existing decking surrounding the proposed swimming pool and to reconfigure, construct 1,139 square feet of decking and to reduce the size of the approved swimming pool to 360 square feet. Eleni is going to walk us through this, and this is in Vice Chair Roy Delene's Springs District. Thank you, Eleni.
Right, so this is the Fresco swimming pool. They are proposing to modify. I guess they actually received their sign off from us, and they got a building permit for it. And it appears that when the builders went out there, they decided that the decking, it was not possible to construct the swimming pool with the decking that was there. It was not in good condition. So they have modified it to reduce the size of the swimming pool and to reconfigure the decking that was there. I actually misspoke at the pre-meeting. it is going to be less lot coverage than previously. So less decking, it's going to be reconfigured, and they are reducing the size of the approved swimming pool.
Thank you for that, Eleni. Roy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I reviewed this and I want to make a motion to allow the modification of 19 Isle of Wight Road, Springs, Suffolk tax map number 300-037-02-06 to proceed.
Second.
I concur.
I concur.
And I concur. Thank you, Eleni. Thank you, Roy. Okay, next we have George Colassa at 2 Springs Fireplace Road in East Hampton, tax map number 300-163-3-11.1. A variance of 4.5 feet is required to allow pool equipment to remain 16.5 feet from the side yard property line where 20 feet is required. And this is regarding whether the board will waive the public hearing. And Eleni, would you introduce this, please?
Sure. So this is an application for a variance without a hearing. This is for the pool equipment, which is located right here. It is 16.5 feet from the property line where 20 is required. It is the border of an access easement that is actually their own driveway. The pool equipment, the pool was constructed in 2000. The pool equipment was recently moved to this location, which is why they are now requesting the variance. It is well screened. I do have photos of the property if I see it's enclosed in it's a covered enclosement. It's on the backside of the shed, and it is well screened by a fence over here, and then the access easement on the side.
Thank you. Do you have a photo easily available there, Eleni? The aerial maybe, or whatever?
So this is where the pool equipment is in this shed here. So it's enclosed, and then
Thank you.
The back.
Thank you. That's helpful. Thank you. Tim?
Is this me or is this Springs?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's under East Hampton. Eleni,
It is East Hampton. It's right.
right on the border.
Yeah. Well, it's actually right at the fork of Springs Fireplace.
Yep. Number 2.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm positively inclined on this. That's certainly natural screening if I've ever seen it. So I would make a motion in the matter of George Colassa at 2 Springs Fireplace Road, East Hampton, tax map number 300-163-3-11.1 I don't know, do I need to make a motion to waive the public hearing?
Counsel?
Yes, it's very similar to going administrative on an NRSP. It's very
Okay.
similar. So you just, yep.
So go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, now, that 4.5 feet, is that something that's common? I don't recall, to waive a hearing for a variance of 4.5?
What it is the authority to waive public hearing under 255-882, Board of Appeals, which is the ZBA, may waive the holding of a public hearing for any application for variances from the provisions of a front, rear, or side yard setback, provided that the variance would not reduce the setback in question by more than 25% or 10 feet, whichever shall be the lesser distance.
Okay.
So it fits within our code.
All right.
So my preamble remains, and I would just say I would make a motion to approve this application to move forward without a public hearing.
I second.
I concur.
I concur. Thanks, Tim, and thanks, Eleni. Okay, we'll move on now. We have a couple of extensions of time here, one or two others. First of all, we have Harold White at 229 Marine Boulevard, Amagansett, tax map number 300-175-6-12. And this is an extension of time to obtain a C of O certificate of occupancy for a ZBA determination filed April 12th, 1995 for in addition to the residence. The work has been completed. However, one permit condition required the applicant to install a septic tank. This was not done. The applicant will now be required to upgrade to an IA system before the CO certificate of occupancy can be issued. And Eleni, could you make a few comments here, please?
Sure. So this is the approved survey. This is the location of the existing, it's a cesspool. So it was a condition of, I believe it was the 1986 approval and then followed through with a 1994 approval for additions to the residence. They came to us, tried to get a C of O, and we noted that they didn't meet all the conditions. So the applicant is now working on a septic upgrade. So he'll need to upgrade the sanitary system in order to obtain the certificate of occupancy. So they're just looking to extend the permit so that they can kind of get everything in a row in installing the IA system.
Thank you for your work on this and your diligence. Good catch there, Eleni. This is in my Amagansett district. So I'd like to make a motion with regard to Howard White at 229 Marine Boulevard, Amagansett, to approve the extension of time.
Second.
I concur.
I concur.
And I concur.
Thank you all. Okay, next we have Stephen and Wendy Gottfried at 346 Kings Point Road, East Hampton, tax map number 300-23-3-35, extension of time to obtain a certificate of occupancy, and the work is completed. Tyler will introduce this, and this is in board member Tim Brenneman's.
No, I believe it's Springs.
Oh, is it Springs? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
Ms. Springs.
good.
That's East Hampton.
Good. So this is Roy. Tyler, if you would, please.
Sorry. This is Springs on Hog Creek. There was actually two applications on this property, one for the swimming pool and decking, and then another one for additions to the residence. The work is all done. It's completed. I've done a CO inspection. It's good to go for a CO. The revegetation looks great. It's been in place for like 2 years now. So it's all grown in very well. So there's no real issues here. It just needs their extension of time to get their final CO from the building department.
Thank you. Thank you, Tyler. Roy?
Yes, I remember this application actually.
Yeah.
And the environmental conditions existing at that time, the approval was greatly improved. So I do make a motion to approve the extension of time for Stephen and Wendy Gottfried, 346 Kings Point Road, East in Springs, Suffolk tax map number 300-023-03-35.
Second.
Concur.
And I concur as well. And thank you, Tyler, on your work on that. And yes, Roy, it is nice to see something like this come to fruition and see such improvement here. Next, we have Robin Diamant at 91 Napeague Harbor Road, Amagansett, tax map number 300-110-2-1. This is an extension of time to obtain a building permit. And Brian Frank, I believe, had sent us a memo on this. Tyler, some comments on this, please?
Like you said, Brian had visited the property already. The project limiting fencing is installed. You can even see it in the 2021 aerial. It's good to go for a building permit. They just need their extension of time in order to get that and start constructing the residence.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. This, I believe, is my Amagansett. I'll make a motion with regard to Robin Diamant at 90 Napeague Harbor Road, Amagansett, to approve the extension of time.
Second.
Concur.
I'll concur.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Adelaide DeManil at 43 Mile Hill Road in East Hampton, tax map number 300-72-1-2. This is an extension of time to obtain a building permit, last extended 8/26/2020, and no changes have occurred, I believe. And this is in board member Tim Brenneman's East Hampton district. And I do have that extension. No, I don't have that one here. I'm sorry. Tim?
Yeah, this has been in front of us before. This is a stunning area of town and a beautiful piece of property. I think this is a second or third extension of time that's come in front of us on this. So I'm good with it, and I would make a motion in the matter of Adelaide DeManil at 43 Mile Hill Road, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-72-1-2 to approve the extension of time.
Second.
I'll concur.
And I concur.
When was the original determination on it?
I think 2012, 2012. I believe.
2012?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you all. We'll move forward now. We have Jonathan Schlaffer at 286 Fresh Point Road, Amagansett. Tax map number 300-127-3-3, extension of time to start construction. Building permit already issued in February. And Tyler, I believe you said this is all in good shape. If you would, Tyler.
Yeah, you gave an extension to this last year. They're ready to start building. So they just need this extension in order to start construction on the property. They're good to go. It's an addition on the landward side of the residence is what it was approved for. So they should be good to go.
Thank you. Thank you. This is in my Amagansett district. I'd like to make a motion with regard to Jonathan Schlaffer at 286 Fresh Pond Road, Amagansett, to approve the extension of time.
I'll second it.
Concur.
I concur.
And I made the motion. Okay, thank you. Next, we have minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the draft minutes of August 24th, 2021?
Yeah, I read the minutes. They look okay to me. I will make a motion to approve the draft minutes for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals for August 24th, 2021.
I'll second.
I'll concur.
I concur.
I concur. Thank you all. Next, we have resolutions. Robert De Niro at 242 Old Montauk Highway in Montauk, tax map number 300-87-3-6. Terry, you want to take this from here?
Yeah, you recall this was a modification where we had two hearings for some of the changes and the addition of a generator and another variance for the slight change in the pool equipment shed that was made. This was a unanimous approval by the board from the matter of Robert De Niro, 242 Old Montauk Highway, Montauk, tax map 300-87-03-06. Make a motion to approve the resolution as written.
I'll second it.
I concur.
And I concur. Thank you, Terry. Next, we have 15 Crooked Highway LLC at 15 Crooked Highway, East Hampton. Tax map number 300-112-1-2.5. Tim, would you like to take it from here, please?
You know what, Mr. Chairman, I must have printed an earlier version of our agenda because I don't have that one on here. So
okay.
Do you mind? I just don't have it to read in.
Sure.
Sorry.
Sure. Who would like to? I don't. Honestly, I don't have the resolution in front of me. I have read it. I don't mind making a motion, if that's all right, with regard to 15 Crooked Highway.
Yeah, that works for me.
That work? Okay. 15 Crooked Highway LLC at 15 Crooked Highway, East Hampton, tax map number 300-112-1-2.5 to approve the resolution as written.
It's an extension,
I'm sorry, extension. I'm sorry.
but it is a resolution. I just am clarifying that it's an extension of time resolution.
Resolution, right. Thank you.
Second.
Wait a second.
I concur.
I'll concur.
Concur.
Okay, thank you. We have another one of these as well, I believe, Council, right? This is Beckman at 94 South Euclid Avenue in Montauk, tax map number 300-49-1-14. I believe this is to adopt an extension as written, Council.
That's correct, yes.
Let's see, who is this? Who had this? Terry, do you have Beckman?
Well, it was mine, but I too printed out the thing this morning, and I don't have it on the agenda. You said, I can make, it was 94 Euclid, South Euclid?
Yes, I've read that as well.
Okay, so in the matter of Beckman at 94 South Euclid Avenue in Montauk, tax map 300-49-1-14, make a motion to approve the extension of time.
I'll second it.
I concur.
I concur.
And I concur. Thank you. Council, anything else from you?
No, that takes care of everything on our agenda.
Wow. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, LTV and Eleni and and Tyler and Kyle and Laura for all your work. Board members, I think we just need a motion from Vice Chair Delene now.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, I therefore make a motion to close the work session of the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals for Tuesday, September 14th at 8:54 PM.
Second.
Concur.
I concur.
And I concur as well, and certainly thank Nancy Lynn for her work